Before we start, we just wanted to take a moment and say thank you. Lately, you have been showing us a lot of support, so we hope you will continue to do so as it keeps us motivated to keep up the hard work and bring you more videos like this. Should you watch Japan Sinks? Japan Sinks 2020 is a new and original anime showing on Netflix. This anime was inspired by a similarly named novel from 1973 that's famous for capturing Japan's deeply political climate. The anime, however, centers on a single family's perspective to survive as Japan is ravaged by continual earthquakes that we learn will eventually cause the country to sink into the ocean. This modern update changes the story and attempts to have a similar social impact instead of a political one. But the tragedy unfortunately loses steam when it relies too much on the surprise of loss, or dabbles in the more allegorical messages. The 10-episode series begins with a lovely intro with a really unique art style, a calming watercolor imagery. At first, the scene of Japan is calm, showing the normal lives of the Mudo family in Tokyo. Mari, the mother of the family, is flying home from a travel abroad. The dad is busy at work on the new Olympic Stadium construction, and their daughter Ayumu is at a track day practicing with her team. Her younger brother Go is at home playing video games. This false peace is suddenly stirred by an earthquake. Everyone is a little shaken, but it wasn't too severe, so they quickly get back to their normal routine. Then the ground begins to shake again, and Ayumu senses it's different. But there's no time to react because all of a sudden, a major twist and change in atmosphere creates a surreal exposure to the true destructive nature of the planet and how we are all so small, how a simple shift of rocks under the ocean can leave so many severely affected, changing lives forever. The family, fortunately, are able to reunite. As morning comes, more destruction awaits. A factory explodes, adding to the hellfire that the city is already under. The tsunami following the earth-shattering quake also has not receded, which the survivors find odd. Foreign news outlets are claiming to have observed no light over the east of Japan, raising fears of an old scene theory that Japan would one day sink into the ocean. Whatever the cause, they decide they have to leave this place and get away to safety, and so our journey with the Mudo family begins. They quickly leave the city behind, heading east to whatever they hope is safer. Up until this point, the show has been very atmospheric. The music is made of somber piano and wind instruments. Percussion with long echoes and reverb gives space to the audio and make the scenes so much more emotional. So far, I was intrigued into where this show would lead, and was also happy with the unique art style that had been shown. If you thought it looked similar to the Devilman Crybaby series, then you've hit the nail on the head, as the same filmmaker is responsible for Japan Sinks 2020. However, I must admit, as the show progresses, there are a few things that occur that, to me, seem strange. I won't delve into spoilers here, but I will tell you that many things happen that in other shows, especially anime, the emotion would have been dialed up, the camera would have changed, and the atmosphere, music, all would have changed to tell the audience, this is bad, this is not right. And it would let the audience know that it's affecting the characters first and foremost. This is where our emotions for the characters grow, our attachment to them and their story. But with this show, it didn't really feel that the characters were responding right to the events that span the series, or at least the events are not as dramatized as I would have liked. Don't get me wrong, I'm no drama queen, and some things go over the top with emotion, but there just wasn't enough for me. Another little nitpick I must give is the changes from Japanese to English. The son Go is an avid gamer, a Generation Z who probably spends most of his time watching YouTube, live streams, and other internet content, a lot in English. For this reason, throughout the show, he constantly switches to English phrases, simple enough that he'd know from this sort of content. But it's really jarring, especially when the voice work in Japanese is so good, to have a young boy suddenly speak in random phrases in broken English out of nowhere. It's just out of place. It's also a little strange how everyone responds to him in Japanese like they understood him. But perhaps we can just assume everyone knows a little English. It's nothing major, I guess we can live with it. Back to the plot. As the episodes move forward, we encounter more survivors. This also gets me back on my point of odd things that occur. They just so happen to bump into Go's favorite gaming streamer, from Estonia? Anyway, they find him on a paraglider by Mount Fiji, where the journey continues. As they move forward, they find more survivors, hitchhikers, etc. And I begin to realize there is no real plot. In essence, the characters must find safety, so whatever lies in between events is just them traveling, in between where anything noteworthy occurs. Until the last 3 episodes, I'd say the show is more or less about getting to this final stage, where they're trying to leave to get to safety. As you can imagine, it ends up being a little bit more difficult than this, and many hardships come between the family and safety. As I have mentioned before, death becomes a common theme in the show. When people start to drop left or right indiscriminately of who they are or how vital they are to the plot, the death itself that you continue to encounter slowly becomes normal and slowly starts to verge on repetitive, making the meaningfulness less and less as the show continues. Whilst I did mention that the show has a nice aesthetic, it rarely shows any animation or camera angle out of the ordinary. Instead, it spends its resources crafting extremely detailed environments of the Japanese countryside, not keeping the visual attention or fidelity equal to the main characters, which works well, although sometimes I would like to see a little bit more detail in their facial expressions. The series soundtrack, which I did like, was by Kensuke Yusio, who had already collaborated with the director on Devilman Crybaby and a few other things. To sum up my experience with Japan Sinks 2020, it's likely it won't have the same impact of Masaki Yuasa's other work, as it's sorely missing the artistic and animation wizardry he is well known for. Love and emotion between the characters at the start of the show are truly so emotional that makes the initial deaths tug at your aorta. As I have said, however, you are so likely to be desensitized by episode 10 that no matter who dies, it will not have the same impact as it once did. Japan Sinks 2020 is a show that tries to display the adversity we would face in the face of such a crisis, and what it takes to get through. The mixed messages, however, throughout and the absurdity of some events will most likely leave the viewer slightly confused on what the end result or feelings should have been. I would class this as a post-apocalyptic and drama anime, although there are some nice and quite well-placed moments of calm and serenity between characters. Out of 10, in my humble opinion, this anime scores a 6. It's worth a watch and provides a good overall experience with a unique art style and a solid soundtrack. There are things that could have been better, such as the plot apart from escape, dialogue in tense situations, and Go's broken English. I would recommend this to someone who is already familiar with anime and its different tones and interpretations. It may be hard as a beginning, but I guess we are all different. I can say it has redeeming qualities, that all people will find something in it to be good. Well, that's it for my review of Japan Sinks 2020. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching this video. We hope to see you soon on the next one. Stay safe.